and welcome to Check It Out, Comrade, an indie game podcast where every 2 weeks we bring you 2 indie games and tell you what we like about them. I'm Nick Lauber.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this week we're doing another solo ep of Enter the Gungeon.
Yes. Yeah, a game that I think that we maybe didn't expect to do on its own, but we both like a lot.
So yeah, as we mentioned last week, we were both gifted copies of this by Zach, a listener. So thanks again, Zach.
Oh yeah, thank you.
And yeah, so let me go into the kind of technical details here real quick. It was released on April 5th, so we're actually doing this within the same month, which is pretty crazy.
That never happens. But to be fair, this has been anticipated forever.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching Northern Lion, who is a YouTube guy who we both like, who does Binding of Isaac, talk about playing it at PAX like last summer.
Yeah, he did a short just kind of preview. He got an early build and did a preview episode where he kind of showed it off, and it looks really good right from the get-go, so we both started looking forward to it right away. The developer of this game is named Dodgerel. This is the only thing they've put together that I'm aware of, and it's published by Devolver Digital, who always manages to publish all the good indie games.
Yeah, guess who published it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, I think, I'm willing to call it, this is the Isaac like that I like the best.
Yep.
This did it. Like it's not perfect.
No.
But I like it a lot, and this is the one that I can see playing more than I could see, playing any of the other ones we've done. Even, ones I liked.
Right.
Like even Nuclear Throne, which I liked quite a bit. I like this better. I think this is a better game.
Yeah, no, this is really good. It's the one thing that we both have said to each other about it, that is kind of the one major downfall of it so far, is the difficulty level. Yes.
It has there are 4 stages in it right now, or 4 or 5.
I think it's 5. Yeah, there's a 5th and final one.
There are 5 stages, and the issue is that it's not like a gradient. So like you play Isaac, and the first run through there are 6. So there are more stages. So it feels like in the first couple, like it ramps you in really easily. Mm-hmm. This is a very harsh ramp. It reminds me a lot of Necrodancer.
Yeah.
Where like the second set of stages is so much harder than the first one. I have gotten the second boss a couple times. Mm-hmm. I cannot beat the second boss. And I haven't had all the time in the world to keep playing, but that is where I'm at.
Yeah, I've put quite a bit of time into it, and I've only gotten to the 4th level once. So I've only beaten a 3rd level boss one time. So yeah, like there's not quite the level of really good runs like Isaac has, where you can get an item that completely changes the game and kind of sails you through to an ending, regardless of like your skill level, because that can happen in Isaac. Like you can get a build that's good enough that the game is just cakewalk.
So when that happens in Isaac, that's a feature, that's not a bug. The reason why it's cool is that you're able to see this late game stuff in kind of a safe environment. Mm-hmm. And it's just very encouraging. Like it happens once and then you think it can happen anytime.
Absolutely.
And Gungeon doesn't quite have that to my experience.
Right.
I think theoretically you could unlock a very good gun, but it's really out of all like the Isaac likes we've done, it is such a different game because it is so much more. I mean, Isaac is very skill based, but this feels more skill based than knowledge based, like more like twitch reflex.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, even if you get a very good gun, it can help, but it's not going to do it for you.
Right.
And the reason it's so the other thing too, just real quick while we're on difficulty, is the health pickups are really rare.
Yeah.
And there's a mechanic I really don't like, and we'll have to see if this is if we're on the same page of this. But there's like the poor get poorer kind of mechanic where you get a health upgrade if you beat the boss without taking your red heart damage, red bullet damage.
I think it's any damage, even losing a shield still counts.
Does that count? Okay.
Yes.
I think that sucks.
Yeah, you have to perfect the boss in order to get the health upgrade.
Because I'm not in favor of like mechanics where the idea is if you fail, you're going to keep failing.
Right.
It reminds me of, it's like in Dark Souls 2 as you get more and more hollow, but there are items around that. This, it's just like if you do that on that boss, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's very hard to catch up because that second set of stages is so much tougher. That extra HP would really help.
I almost feel like they should switch the rewards in that you should get like the health.
You get a health upgrade if you get hurt.
Right, yeah, you get it, or you get a health upgrade by default, and then you get an extra item if you perfect. Because I like the idea of there being a reward for perfecting the boss. Like that's a cool thing, but it being health and that being the like real limiting factor in terms of how far you can get in the game I think that there should basically be some form, because with Isaac, the boss drops are very heavily weighed towards HP.
Yes, yeah, you're much more likely to, and there are a lot of upgrades that do double duty. It's like HP and other stats,
right?
And even I would go as far as saying Gungeon, stat upgrades are very rare in general.
Yeah.
Things that are going to actually improve your moveset, which again, that plays into the kind of the core gameplay and what the game's going for, but it doesn't quite get along with the difficulty as much as I want it to.
Yeah. You definitely have to be really good at the game, put a lot of time into it before you're going to get consistent at making the ending.
And that makes sense for a shorter game, than Isaac, because it's supposed to take longer, and the actual core gameplay is very fun,
right.
So it's still good. But it does, it's kind of a bummer, and it is discouraging. Not enough to get me to stop playing, but like it is discouraging, I think.
Yeah, and I feel is pretty much my one main complaint about it.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Everything else,
we're getting that out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. We wanted to put that at the front because everything else about this game is really, really good. The graphics, the pixel art in it is like super fantastic, and just visually and audially, the music's really good.
It's so charming. Like the promotional art for the game is significantly less so.
Yeah.
So when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this looks kind of shitty."
Yeah.
But the actual in motion, it's really, really cute.
Yeah, the pixel art's great.
It's kind of like my favorite run cycle.
Yeah.
Like it's you doing the like the hater's gonna hate kind of like bounce.
Yeah.
It's really, really adorable. And then the enemy is like, it's so stupid. Like the game is all like, everything is gun based down to like the enemies being bullets. And that's like such goofy fun that I'm like way into it.
Yeah, me too.
They're really cute. Like they put out one of these plush bullets. Like that's probably something I'm going to get.
That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Like they're really, really cute. The sound is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like the music is really, really good. Like the intro music, the like title select music is wonderful.
Yeah.
And then inside the level, like it just really works. It, again, just like comparing to all the different Isaac likes we played, like it gets you going.
Yep.
Like not quite as much as Necrodancer, but it reminded me a little bit of Paranautical, where like, this is perfectly matching what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's got that nice beat to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so to get to some of the actual like mechanics of the game, so there's 4 different Gungeoneers to start off with. There's a third one that's or a fifth one that's meant for co-op play. Did you play any co-op, Gary?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I haven't either. I've heard it's really fun, but I haven't managed to check it out yet.
It's couch co-op, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, no online co-op yet. But the 4 different Gungeoneers, there's the Marine, the Pilot, the Hunter, and the Convict. And, like Isaac characters, they all have kind of different trade-offs for what they get. What have you been playing the most?
Mostly Marine.
Yeah, I think Marine's the easiest to start off with.
The armor is just really helpful.
Yeah, it is really helpful. I like the Pilot as well. He seems pretty nice, and he starts off with a lockpick that can occasionally open up chests without keys, which helps you get some items, because key drops are also pretty rare. The other 2 are much harder, I feel like.
I think so too. The Hunter's kind of thing is that she comes with a crossbow. Mm-hmm. That is slow to attack, but super powerful if you can land hits. Right. Which is going to take you a while to get. And then a dog that can spot mimics, which like there are mimics. That's so good.
Yeah.
It says it right in the description for the dog.
Yeah.
So it's not too much of a spoiler.
He also picks up items on room end very occasionally.
Yeah, even though, like finds a random item, because one of the things, and we'll get to that, I don't want to spoil it, but all of the money and stuff that you drop in the room automatically just goes to you, because one of the things that sets us apart is the thousands of ease of use considerations.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I really love. And then I didn't play very much with the Convict. Well, what's the Convict story?
The Convict starts with the sawed-off on top of her infinite gun, which we didn't mention that, but every character starts with a gun that has infinite ammo, and that's the only gun you have that has infinite ammo. But so she starts out with a sawed-off and the Molotov usable item. And then her kind of skill thing is that she gets like enraged when she takes damage, which makes her do more damage for the rest of the room, or for a limited time. And that's kind of a hard mechanic to play around, because you don't want to get hit. Like the health is so limited in this game that you don't get to make very good use of that. It's not a huge buffer.
Yeah, especially with the with wanting to get more health.
Yeah.
From bosses. So it is kind of like, it's a nice little bit of rubber banding, but it kind of doesn't play with another one of the mechanics very much, I think. So yeah, those are your guys, and you choose which one you want. The Marine is really easy because is a good starting class because of the armor, and because his weapon is just a real basic weapon. And then you enter the Gungeon. There is a little tutorial that is charming, and then you actually go into this zone, and the base mechanics that are kind of taught to you through the tutorial are huge.
Mhm.
Like the actual things that make this different than Nuclear Throne makes such a big difference that it's amazing.
Absolutely.
And those two things are cover.
Yep.
Because there's a cover system in this game, either through like existing kind of hard furniture or kicking over tables.
Yep.
Or most importantly, the dodge roll.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is right in the name of the company. And like, I want like every game to have a dodge roll.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so good. Because it like the only thing that feels better than like a really well-timed dodge roll is a good parry in like Dark Souls or something.
Absolutely.
But if you can't do that, like just, doing a really, really good dodge, like it feels really dramatic. It's really like cinematic for a game that looks like this.
Yeah.
Like diving out of the way of bullets to get to a table and kick it over and then like block shots. Like
absolutely.
That's crazy for like this kind of game.
For sure.
And then the dodge roll just makes me feel like I have more mastery over whether I'm going to get hit.
Yeah.
Nuclear Throne had cover, but it was all just corners and stuff. And this just like adds a little bit, like they're able to have a little bit more density of bullet on scrin.
Right.
Because of that. And I think the game is better for it.
Yeah, and
it's exciting.
They make good use of that mechanic too. I don't think there's any floors that like really limit the number of things you can flip, and there's items you get that add some ability to what happens when you flip a table. So very commonly you'll get something that maybe does like sets enemies on fires when you flip a table, or it slows the room down, or does the blank effect, which we haven't talked about.
We'll talk about that in a second.
But there's a lot of upgrades for the table flipping. It's obviously meant to be a core mechanic of the game.
And then in addition to that, we mentioned a little bit, so you can flip tables for cover, you can dodge roll, and then there's also blanks, which clear the screen and stop people from shooting for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And what's really brilliant, unlike every other resource which they decided to make very scarce, blanks refill every floor.
Yeah.
So they're relatively, they seem to drop with about the same frequency of health, but they're not that expensive. You can buy them in shops, and there's no incentive not to use them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're playing this game well, you should be, and I'm saying that like I play this game well, but you should be using blanks.
At the very least on the boss. Like if you're about to go down to the next floor, get rid of your blanks because you'll get the same amount back.
Yes. Yeah. And that's most of what there is. There's some like really light platforming. You can dodge roll over gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't add that much to the room, but it can make some rooms a little bit more tactical by denying you certain areas.
Yeah, and you can knock enemies into them too if they're not flying enemies, which is cool.
Yeah.
Get a couple shots of some gun that has heavy pushback and throw all the enemies into some gap. It's pretty nice.
And it's worth talking about. So the other kind of big feature of this is that unlike Isaac, which has hundreds of items, and the joy of, but several of them just don't do that much, and the joys they work together, or several of them do things, but the synergies are the Isaac thing. Here it is. Imagine if Isaac just had like 300 tier effects.
Right.
I don't think it's 300. I don't know how many different guns there are on this game.
There's quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. There's more than 100, and just they don't all play as differently as I want them to necessarily. But what's really cool is that like you can definitely find one that totally changes your shit.
Oh, absolutely.
So it gives you a little bit of that, like that really cool thing about Isaac, where it's like, I've got this thing and it totally changes my verb set for the rest of the run.
Yeah.
You find like run defining guns.
Yeah. And then there's a whole thing about ammo, like because guns have, except for your base gun, they all have restricted ammo. You have to shuffle through which guns you have in order to kind of balance out when you run out of ammo. And ammo drops are pretty rare. There's items that help you with that. But they do show up in shops, and they do very rarely drop from rooms. Yeah,
and the Marine is a good starting class because he has an item that allows him to gain his ammo back.
Yeah,
ammo drop.
Yeah, he gets one free ammo drop.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're managing these guns. So and you don't have a gun limit. It's not like you just you grab a gun and you grab another gun. It's not Nuclear Throne. If there's a gun limit, I didn't run into it. You can have multiple different guns. So eventually, if a run is going well, and I haven't had one run great for me, but like the idea is if one of them is running well, you eventually are going to gain this toolbox of things for their either different resources to use or good in different kind of situations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah. Like I said, you have one that's high pushback. You'll bust it out when you're in a room that's full of gaps so you can knock people around. If you have something that deals heavy damage with, minimal number of shots on it, then you're going to save those for bosses. And then you have rooms that will bounce around the room or something. You want to save that for clearing rooms out. So they all have their own kind of utility. There's a lot that do kind of fit into the same category. Like there's a bunch of different just pistols or semi-automatic things or shotguns. But some of the stuff a lot of the guns are just really unique and cool.
Yeah, yeah. I got so I most of the guns I got were like shotguns and pistols and stuff. I got a lot of that.
Right.
I got a couple really cool things. I had, but I don't remember the name of any of them because there's hundreds of them.
Right.
One of them fired like a real floppy laser that projected off of walls. So at like angles, so kind of like a brimstone rubber cement.
Right.
But it was real kind of gooey. It was like a proton pack, like a Ghostbusters thing. There's kind of inertia to it. That was really great. And then I've gotten one that that has a fireball that shoots out with it that can set things on fire. Yeah. And then kind of the most creative one is there's one that's a reference to Bloodborne. There's a trick weapon that when you reload it, it turns into a shotgun. So it's a shotgun until you reload it again, and then it's kind of a weak pistol. Oh, so every other reload, it's a more powerful weapon.
There's a lot of cool stuff they do with that too. There's like a mailbox one that it just shoots these like letter bullets until you're in the last bullet in the clip, and then it shoots a package that explodes and does some elemental effect.
Yeah, like I got that thing as well. It's like it looks like it's a silencer or something. It's called something like that.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird because it's like that doesn't look like a silencer.
Silencer is the pillow one.
Oh,
it shoots pillows out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's real good. But there's just tons of them. Tons and tons of them, and like it's such a good. I don't know if this was intentional, if this was a riff on this, but it's such a fulfilling the promise of fucking Borderlands.
Yeah,
where Borderlands like, oh, bazillion guns just got bazillionaire, and it's like it is not fun. Like a gun that does 3 damage versus a gun that does 3 damage and 0.4 elemental damage. Like that's not a fun, meaningful difference.
Yeah.
Like that sucks, Borderlands. Like your guns suck and you should feel bad. And this is like, it is real crazy.
Yeah.
Like the guns feel like not all of them, but a lot of them feel really different and weird. And that's so cool.
And comparison to Borderlands, a lot of these are references in a good way. Like there's a Super Meat Boy one that shoots out blades. It looks like a red cube with a bandage on it, and it shoots out the blades from Super Meat Boy. Mm-hmm. I think there's like a Tears one that's a reference to Isaac. Mm-hmm. There's like one called the Decker or something that obviously looks like the gun that Decker uses. There's
the 2.223.
Yeah,
Fallout gun. Yeah.
There's just so many good references that's all it is. It's just like they wanted a gun that references this thing, and they don't try and go any further. They don't turn it into a joke. It's just like, hey, recognize this thing. Well, it's going to do something that makes sense to the reference, and that's pretty cool. And
there's something like indie developers referencing other indie developers feels so much better than like a gigantic company reference, like just searching, Google for memes.
Yeah.
And then just like, this is a hit. All the kids can't stop talking about arrows in the knee. Like we got to get that in there. Exactly. And like it just doesn't feel gross. It feels genuine and cool.
Absolutely.
In a way that I is much better. Yeah. So the way that the other thing this is different when I was talking about the density that the dodge roll allows for, because there are parts of this that are straight up bullet hell, and like I'm on record of the show of not really liking bullet hell, because of Undertale, not because of that didn't turn me off of bullet hells. One reason I didn't like Undertale was because of bullet hells.
Right.
But I haven't played a bullet hell where I have this, like when you play a shoot 'em up, that is a bullet hell. The trick is you don't, you just dodge.
Right.
Like your bullets will take care of themselves. Don't try to focus fire on anything. Just avoid bullets. And it's just kind of this like reflex based, like very simple kind of thing. This is so much more complicated than that. Like dodging, dealing with bullet hell with an actual defensive vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like this, Ikaruga has that where you can change the color of your ship.
Right.
So there's an element of like reflex or something. Just makes a really big difference. Like I don't, for those kind of games, they feel shitty for if there's nothing I can do to avoid getting hit.
Right.
And this never feels like that. Like there are really bad situations you can get yourself in. But I always feel like because of that dodge roll and because of the blanks, like I can always do something about it.
Yeah, those are such huge verbs in a game like this that enables someone who isn't even very good at dodging bullets. Even in Isaac, I can't get around a lot of the bullet helly stuff. Like, but having anything that allows you to just do something other than dodging is huge.
Yeah,
it brings like a lot more to the table.
Isaac is balanced difficulty wise, so you can take some hits.
Right.
This is not. But it actually empowers you to have that be okay.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. I really, really love that.
So real quick, let's talk about which bosses have you run into so far?
All the first floor ones.
Okay.
Of course. And then, like I said, I've only gotten the second floor one once, and there's a couple guys on the second floor that fuck me up really bad. The one that shoots the bullets that look like chevrons. They look like little arrows.
Yeah, yeah. And then
I don't
it
have
turns
a good,
around at you.
I have no good strategy for those things.
They're definitely hard.
And so a lot of times those have undid my run getting into the second floor. And I don't always get past the first floor. Like I can do it pretty consistently, but I still, it depends on which gun I'm getting and, health pickups and stuff. The one time, so all the first floor bosses I've run into, and we'll talk about them because they're cool. But luckily, because I looked out, the one time I ran into a second floor boss, it was the beholster, the beholder with guns instead of eye stalks.
Yeah.
That's great.
I was really hoping you ran into him because I knew you'd like him a lot.
Yeah, I lucked out. He's awesome. Like the bosses don't play that different. They each have a color and they have a special attack, but they mostly just do different patterns of bullet hell stuff, from what I can tell.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, there's enough about them to make them unique. And it gets even crazier in the further in the further levels. But the first floor ones are mostly just pattern dodging.
Yeah.
Which that's fine. I think that there's still enough difference in difficulty around them. Like, so there's Bullet King, who's basically the most simple of them. It's just him firing at you. He has a few different patterns, but he's the easiest for me to get around most of the time. Then there's Gatling Ghoul, who he has one move in particular where he's walking towards me and doing the like serpentine pattern of bullets.
Yeah.
That when you can't really roll to the side of it, you need to kind of keep him at one angle in order to properly dodge it. And if he's walking towards me at the same time and closing me in on a wall, then I'm going to get screwed. So he's one that's been hurting me a lot.
Yeah, he's tough.
Then there's Trigger Twins, they have very, very simple patterns, but there's two of them. And then when you kill one, they get enraged like Ornstein and Smoke.
Yes.
So
yeah, and just for theming, like Gatling Ghoul is like a super muscular guy with a crow's head. Who has feathers in his armpit hair, and when he dies, 1,000 birds come from off stage,
which is
off screen. I
love the end boss stuff.
Yeah, like all of this stuff is really like well themed. The Bullet King is on a gigantic floating throne, like battle throne.
Yeah, he's Modok,
and he has like a little like vassal that has fucked me up before too, like just a little guy that runs around.
Yeah, you can kill him right off the bat, but if you forget and he just gets hit by a stray bullet, then he'll just come running off the screen onto you and screw everything up.
Yep.
If he survives to the end, though, he just sits in a corner and cries over his lost king.
That's so good. Who's noteworthy that I haven't run into yet?
So like I said, I've only gotten to fourth floor once. But so the second floor bosses, the only other ones are Amaconda and Gorgon.
Mm-hmm.
Amaconda and Gorgon are not they're not too special. Gorgon lays down a bunch of poison they have to dodge, but they're both, I think, maybe even easier than Beholster. Beholster gets pretty hard with his little minions that he throws out there.
Yeah.
The two bosses for the next floor are Cannonball Rog and Treadnought. Treadnought used to be really hard, but they patched them out and made them quite a bit easier now. So they're both pretty difficult, but nothing too special about either of them. Treadnought just kind of is in a arena where he breaks down pillars that were helping you dodge stuff, and now they're not.
Okay.
And then the only fourth floor one I've hit so far is Wallmonger, and that guy is an asshole. It's just a big wall that's like cutting off. He's at like the top, maybe quarter of the room, and he does different patterns on like each side of the wall, and sometimes spits a row of fire down the middle, so you have to like keep dodging the middle. If you just walk in it, you're gonna get caught on fire.
Okay.
So those are the only ones that I've hit so far. There's two other floor 4 ones, and then there's a final boss, but we won't go into those.
Yeah, well, we will in the spoiler section.
Yeah,
because I'm watching the final boss for the first time now. I
nice.
watched it, like just watching YouTube, and it's pretty crazy. Should we have anything else left in non-spoiler town?
No, I don't think so. We didn't mention that there's a lot of active and passive items that you get along the way as well, but I haven't seen anything too extraordinary in there, so I think that
I would go as far as to say that's actually something that kind of bums me out, is that there's not more of that, or it's not more useful.
Right.
To me, like a lot of them are situational. It's like, get a brief increase in power when after you reload.
Right.
Things like that. They're just very situational and kind of hard to work with, and very little in the way of like, I don't know if there are like a speed up, which is what I want.
There definitely is.
Okay.
There definitely is. And that's one thing I guess we really need to mention too. There's a lot of things that are in between game unlocks.
Okay. Yeah.
So on the second floor of most runs, you will find a cell key that unlocks a room that's somebody in a jail cell somewhere. And this happens on the second floor pretty often until you get everybody unlocked. And what those unlock are different like shopkeepers and places that you can spend your hegemony credits between stages to unlock new items to show up in further runs.
Okay.
So a lot of the stuff we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
And that's just simply because we haven't unlocked it yet. So we're kind of rolling with, base game Isaac, where you haven't unlocked all the stuff that you get from all the different things. So, all the really great items, there's no Godhead, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, that's not available to us yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, that stuff does exist. I feel like it's a little bit restrictive with what's there in the beginning then.
Yeah.
It kind of plays into that, like, first floor, like, there's, like, starting with a little bit of a difficulty wall.
I think I think they're kind of trying to feel out a little bit of that Rogue Legacy feel where it's meant to be something that's won because of all the previous runs. But Rogue Legacy does a lot better theming around that kind of every run is progress towards an overarching goal. This doesn't do as well in that like your losses are also helping you to do better in the future because you're not putting stat points in anything. You're just spending to increase your item pools, and it's at a very slow rate because you only get so many credits if you didn't do you only get the credits after boss wins, and if you died on the first floor without killing any bosses, you didn't unlock any of those credits.
Yes. Yeah. It's not a collection of things like, again, just throwing everything in the Isaac court. Like, you're going to unlock stuff by accident all the time.
Right.
With Isaac, just like, oh, I got 3 items that are kind of like this, that doesn't really happen as far as I can tell.
Yeah. I don't think there's some stuff that does lead to item unlocks that are, like, beating a boss for a first time or something like that, but they're very small in number compared to the things that you unlock by spending these credits.
Yeah, I didn't run into tons of them, but I believe
yeah,
for sure. So if you I think this is recommended from both of us.
Yeah, I love it,
especially if you're looking for I would say it's a small doses game. Like when I sit down and try to play, like, I've played a bit, but I have not played like for like 3 hours in a row.
Right,
like it's not like that kind of game for me.
Right. Yeah, I can't do that either.
Yeah, it gets kind of exhausting. But for like just a pick up and play kind of thing from time to time, it's huge. It's really good. And some of these little minor things we have, they may adjust those things too. Like those may get fixed, and even if they don't, it's still worth playing.
Yeah.
So
they definitely have been considering difficulty even since release. Like I said, that one boss got nerfed quite a bit. So I think that it's an ongoing kind of process still, but I don't think they're going to be making it dead easy or anything. It's probably always going to be a pretty hard game, even if the wall isn't quite as high as it is right now.
Yeah, I don't want it to be dead easy. I just want it to be mildly, just more health pickups would do it. Like would do so much, a little bit more health pickups, and I would maybe kill that, make health drops a possibility, even if you take a hit.
Give me a Mary Magdalene character.
Yeah, totally. Like, give me a character, and even if the character ends up becoming hated later.
Yep.
Like I would rather stab myself in the fucking dick than play a Maggie run.
I hate Maggie runs.
I hate Maggie. But when I was still learning, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It's cool that training wheels are cool. That there's a reason why we have them. Like it's good to have somebody ease you into a bike.
And I think that's what the Marine's supposed to be, but you still just have higher starting point. You still don't get more health drops in the run.
Yeah.
So we need somebody who has an increased health drop rate, and that'd be the training wheels character. Everybody would love them at first and hate their negatives later.
Yeah, even if you couldn't, like, in the end, like they're not strong enough to get me through the late game.
Yep.
That they get me through the early game. So
absolutely.
So if you like this show, not that show, but check it out, Comrade, you can rate and review us on iTunes. That's a huge help. The other thing you can do is if you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, you can donate us a couple bucks a month. We have a bunch of new shows that are on there that are related to money. And we are, as of this recording, we're $50 away from our $3,000 goal,
nice.
Which is huge, which is going to be me and Cole reviewing the monster manual, one monster at a time.
Absolutely.
3 episodes a week, short episodes.
I'm super looking forward to that one.
I think it'll be really, really great. So if you want to help out, that is the way to do it.
Yep. And if you have any games you want to suggest or just want to hang out with us, we're available on facebook.com/checkitoutcomrade, on Twitter @Comrade Podcast. And if you donate $2 or more, you can come chat with us in the Check It Out Comrade Slack channel that we have. Duckfeed has a whole Slack network with channels for all of our shows and various other general stuff. And it's a great place to hang out. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. So we're going to put a little ditty in here and talk about kind of what we've seen of the end game, because we haven't got there, but I've seen some of it, and just kind of discuss more spoilery stuff. Hold out if you want to hear that. And if you don't want spoilers that stuff, then shut us off now.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I've watched some Northernlion, and I hate how good that guy is at video games.
Did he? Because when I watched the first couple episodes of it, and he was bad, and people were calling him out, which is just kind of a joke with him.
Yeah,
but I didn't know if he actually got good, or if that is still the case, that he was still rough.
He's still really like oblivious of some stuff. Like there's things that I found through just like exploring that he's yet to even find, or stuff that people had to tell him, and I was like, come on, man. But in terms of actual like playing, he's already gotten to the final boss and beaten him once. So just where I'm at in watching him, I think he's got 5 episodes or so at time of recording that I haven't watched it yet. But yeah, the guy's just too damn good and lucky, and it's annoying, but also it's cool because I get to see some stuff that I get to look forward to later in my own runs. So the final boss is this big dragon made out of bullet casings, called the High Dragon. And he looks ridiculous. He does not look very fun to fight. Massive bullet hell. He even puts like SMGs on the walls that you have to take out, otherwise you're getting hit from like 3 different targets at once.
He shoots. I love when he pulls out the guns, because like it's a dragon that's like made of guns, and he has 2 guns.
Yep.
And then those bullets that shoot out in a regular spread of 5, but they ricochet off walls.
Yes.
A couple times. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that looked really, really tough.
Crazy. And he has 2 phases as well. But that's not the end of the game. So that kind of ends the run. You do get a credits roll, but as the game's intro kind of tells you, you're trying to find this gun that can shoot the past, or something to that effect. And when you get to the final level, the 5th level, the shop is replaced by the special shop who tells you need to collect these different pieces of that gun in order to win the game for real, essentially. So but those items are the result of some like trick rooms and stuff. There's one I think on floor 3 or 4 that's like this minecart room that you have to kind of navigate through these minecarts, and you pick up an item and it takes up one of your active item slots. So if you don't have the backpack, then you kind of just have to give up having an active item at that point to take this item instead. And so if you get all the pieces of this gun and then take it to that shop at the end, there's something else that happens, but I haven't seen what happens yet.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I even from just playing it, I was sure that they were going to have weird Isaac ass shit like that.
There's definitely still levels to be discovered, insofar as what I've seen in my own runs and watching NL. Yeah,
it is. These guys get it. Like it's the general feeling, which is really cool to like have some people get it.
Absolutely, so. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And I definitely think I'll be playing it for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a very short spoiler section, but we don't know very much. We're learning along with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's join that Slack and let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's probably good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah. Good night.